District Attorney Melinda Katz, the President and CEO of the New York State Retail Council, Melissa O'Connor, the Superintendent of the New York State Police, Stephen James, DASNY President Michael McMahon, the President and CEO of the New York State Retail Council, Kathy Hochul. And please join me in welcoming the 57th Governor of the great state of New York, Governor Kathy Hochul.
Great to see everyone. Thank you very much. First of all, I want to acknowledge the people standing behind me. You just heard their names, but they're critically important to what I'm going to be talking about here today. Superintendent of State Police, Stephen James, I want to thank you for embracing the roles so quickly and executing on my priorities, which is the safety of the people of New York, and our special focus we're talking about today on solving the crisis of retail theft across our state. So Stephen James, thank you very much. Michael LaPietri, NYPD Chief of Crime Control Strategies, has joined us. I want to thank you for being here as well. Representing the mayor. I mean, I just got off the phone with the mayor. This is a top priority for the mayor of the city of New York and mayors and supervisors all across the state of New York. And so this is a good news message for them as well. Michael McMahon, the president of the District Attorneys Association of the state of New York, truly an influential organization who helps guide us in Albany as we craft legislation that their offices have to implement. So I thank him for his work. District Attorney Melinda Katz from Queens, thank you. And also thank you for your special work on domestic violence. And we're really, a lot of your ideas have been embraced in our budget as well. So thank you for that. Kathy Hochul, the head of the Partnership for New York City, representing so many of the victims of retail theft, large and small, who weighed in significantly on how we could craft a message and a strategy to combat this. Melissa O'Connor, Retail Council of New York State. Thank you again, Melissa. You were at the forefront of this, coming up with ideas even a year ago. And hopefully your members will realize that we have taken this very seriously with your support and guidance. And Deanna Logan, the director of the Mayor's Office of Criminal Justice. You know, a few weeks ago, I invited a small group of small businesses, bodega owners, supermarket owners, and workers to the state capitol. We stood in the Red Room. And I took a moment to thank them for their incredible advocacy around the state, particularly in Albany, as we focus on what is happening to our retail workers, as well as their stores and what has been happening with this scourge of retail violence. And they told me it's creating a real threat to their livelihoods. And they're anxious about this. And they told me how frightening it is when these brazen thieves just walk in, burst open the door, take their time, sweep the shelves, scare people, and tear things off the shelves, run out the door, often into a stolen vehicle. And they think that no one has cared. They told me they feel helpless. And as we entered the budget negotiations, I told them just a couple weeks ago, we're going to go through this process and we're going to fight for you. And I do keep my promises. Over the last few weeks, I've negotiated a budget with the leaders of the Assembly, Carl Heastie, and the majority leader of the State Senate, Andre Stewart-Cousins. The two leaders and I worked together to craft strategies that will help police and prosecutors break up these increasingly sophisticated retail theft rings. These are the networks and criminals who prey on our small businesses and large businesses and threaten the vibrancy of our communities. And we're using the same core strategies that were successful in driving down gun violence. When I first became governor, all anybody talked about was the incredible increase in the number of violent acts, murders, shootings, all across the state of New York, particularly here in New York City. We also realized at that time that a lot of people were calling for defunding the police, something we absolutely ignored and condemned, and decided we're not going to defund the police, we're going to fund the police properly and focus on proven programs like the Gun Involved Violence Initiative, or GIVE. You may not be familiar with what that stands for, but you'll see the effects. This is one of the core strategies all across New York to help us get money and strategies and resources into the communities that were suffering from this. So it's local money, or state money into localities, 21 counties across the state. And I'll tell you this, why I'm focusing on this today, we're talking about retail theft, we're talking about strategies that in the last 2 years have already worked. Outside of New York City, we had the lowest murder rate since 1968. Murders are down statewide over 30% since 2021. That's extraordinary, down 30%. We could be sitting here saying they're up 10, 15, 20%. We're saying they're down 30%, and we're not letting up. The historic progress continues through 2024, the first few months. We had the lowest number of shootings in one quarter on record outside of New York City, lowest in history. New York City has seen the lowest number of shootings in this quarter since the pandemic. So you know how to reverse trends. That's why I don't want people to feel hopeless about what has happened with retail theft. Because a few years ago, people were feeling pretty hopeless about whether or not we could change the dynamic around these shootings and murders and violent crimes, and we did. So we know how to deal with this. And we've set our sights now on retail theft, employing the same approach. What we introduced in our budget, and were successful in getting over the finish line, was a 5-point plan. Point 1, to deter the steady climb in attacks on retail workers, we are bolstering criminal penalties on anyone who assaults a retail worker. It'll no longer be a misdemeanor. It will be a felony. And I want to thank Senator Jessica Spantum and Assembly Member Manny de los Santos for helping us get this over the finish line. We look forward to them joining us when we actually have a chance to sign this into law. Now, I know a lot of people, a lot of pundits, a lot of critics said we couldn't get it done, that we would fall short, that it would be a watered-down version. But I'm here to say we got it done exactly the way we had hoped for, because it's simply something I would not budge on. And I have to say, this is what is equally troubling. Retail incidents involving physical force have more than doubled. This is just not stealing anymore. This is harming either another patron or the worker while the people are committing the crime of theft. So I knew I had to fight for these individuals who, during the pandemic, remember these individuals during the pandemic, put themselves at risk. They were the ones, when you slipped out with your mask on, you went to the pharmacy, someone was there to still give you your prescription to help your health and the health of your children. They were still in the bodegas and the grocery stores, giving up the diapers and the food that your family needs. And they're in the larger stores, so you can keep buying your clothes at Macy's during the pandemic. These are the ones who showed up for us. That's why I said we have to show up for them. They don't deserve to be kept up late at night, worrying about their next encounter with violent thieves, or their family members worrying about them when they head off to work every single day. That's our first point, protecting the retail workers. Point 2, and one of the reasons I wanted to have our district attorneys join us here today. Again, I appreciate them so much for all they do and their staffs. We're going to allow prosecutors to combine the value of goods stolen across different stores when they file the larceny charges. Under current law, you can only combine items stolen from the same store. But we know that's not how retail theft rings work. They hit store after store after store. They go on a binge. Now our laws will reflect that. So the punishment fits the scale of the crime. Point 3, we're making it illegal to foster the sale of stolen goods. This will allow us to go after the third-party sellers that are underlying that surge in retail crime. I want to thank Senator Brad Hoylman and Assemblymember Linda Rosenthal, who joined me to fight this measure as well. They'll be joining us when we sign these bills, hopefully in the next couple of weeks. But right now, there's a lot of incentive and little risk for these middlemen, the people that retail theft rings use to fence stolen merchandise. And they often sell them over the internet, but actually never have those items in their own possession. It makes it really hard to charge them with a crime until now. Once I sign this law, prosecutors will be able to charge third-party sellers if they know or should have known that the items were stolen. Point 4, we're investing $40 million to establish dedicated retail theft things within the state police, DA's offices, and local police departments. This funding for the state level will add over 100 more state police positions. They'll be part of the first ever joint operation on retail theft. Here's how we'll do it. That means state troopers, investigators, crime analysts, working closely with local police departments and sheriffs and federal partners to break up these retail theft rings. This level of collaboration and partnership is absolutely essential. This is what we did when fighting gun crime, this level of teamwork. Because retail theft is no longer one person waiting for the right moment to walk in a store when no one's looking and just snatch one item and run out of the store. Today you have groups of people working together as lookouts, the getaway cars, the planned escape routes. They often cross county and state lines, making their crimes harder to investigate and connect. So by funding these dedicated units, forming this joint task force, we can break down the silos and strengthen interagency coordination. Police and prosecutors across all levels and jurisdictions can work together to find patterns, link crimes, infiltrate these criminal networks, and build strong cases that they need to win. This is a hallmark of our crime-fighting efforts. Designated teams focused on a specific type of crime. More funding for local police and district attorneys, an elevated role for our state police, and seamless collaboration and information sharing. Again, that's how we drove down gun violence. That's how we'll drive down retail theft. Point 5, we've agreed to set aside $5 million for a tax credit to help the small business owners offset the costs of added security measures like cameras. Businesses with over 25 or fewer employees that spend at least $4,000 can qualify for a $3,000 tax credit. Different levels for different sizes businesses. Listen, it's already hard enough to run a business. I know. I helped my mom start a small business. I was right out of law school. My mother thought her daughter, the lawyer, would figure out how to start a small retail shop. I knew nothing, she knew nothing, but we did it anyhow. So it's something she was enormously proud of. She wanted to hire women who were, as they called them back then, displaced homemakers, people who didn't have other jobs or other training. And so my mom put them to work. I don't think she ever made a dime, but we sold beautiful flowers and gifts, and it made my mom very happy. But she was there by herself a lot in the shop. Or when I worked my shift on a Sunday afternoon, you're all alone. You're vulnerable. You're exposed. You should not have to worry about your own safety when you're simply trying to be part of a business, the owner or the employee, and sell what people in the public need. You should not ever have to worry about your safety. So that's why we wanted to help with the cost of cameras, because costs are unexpected sometimes. They don't have even the money to put in a security camera. We want to help make that a reality and alleviate some of that stress that our business owners are feeling. You know, the businesses in New York, we want them to be investing their profits into the business itself, not forking tens of thousands of dollars extra for security. Now, I'll close with the same message I drove home at the negotiations table. We're done forcing small businesses in particular, but retail businesses of all sizes, to fend off these brash and organized criminal networks on their own. When they're under siege, we're under siege. No one wants to walk into a store to find items locked up behind glass windows, or worse, see one of these sprees firsthand. No one wants to see the shops in their neighborhood boarded up because business owners simply say, I can't do this anymore. It's just not working. It's not worth it. Because that threatens the very vitality of these communities, which I will stop at nothing to protect. So to the retail thieves out there, your days are up. We're coming after you. We're giving police and prosecutors the tools they need to catch you, to put you behind bars. We're backing our businesses and their workers with the full force of the law. And we're restoring that sense of security and peace of mind so they can focus on what they do best. Thank you. And now I want to introduce, thank you. Now I want to introduce our great state police superintendent, Stephen James, who will talk about these dedicated retail theft units. Superintendent James.
Thank you, Governor. As the Governor mentioned, we have seen significant reductions in violent crime due to an incredible partnership. That partnership is essential, even now and certainly going forward. That partnership between law enforcement, prosecutors, and the community in the last few years have certainly been significant. I want to highlight some of the statistics, particularly outside of New York City. In 2023, outside New York City, the murder rate was 2.2 murders per 100,000 residents, the lowest rate in more than 5 decades. By comparison, the national average is 2.5 times higher. In the first quarter of 2024, preliminary data shows that murders continue to go down. From 2021 to 2023, outside of New York City, shootings have gone down 35%. And in 2024, shootings are down 24%. And we're seeing these important reductions all over, not just New York City. However, areas such as Buffalo, Syracuse, and Long Island as well. So in 2023, Long Island had the lowest number of shootings on record. And this year, shootings are down 52% in the first quarter. And it's not just murders, nor just gun violence as well. They're down outside of New York City. All forms of violent crime are down, robberies, assaults, and rapes as well. And in 2023, we had the third lowest number of violent crimes since the 1990s outside of the New York City jurisdiction. This decrease has been felt across the state with few exceptions. So together with our law enforcement prosecutors, the retailers, and the community, we will take those methods that we've utilized that drove and resulted in our success. We will utilize that in driving down violent crime, gun crime, over the next important challenge that we'll have, which is fighting organized retail crime. How do we do it, you may ask? Well, certainly, I'll encapsulate it with coordination, with innovation, and a clear mandate, certainly as laid out by the governor. We are launching the Organized Retail Theft Joint Operation. This operation will be a coordinated effort between law enforcement and related entities. We will coalesce the multi-agency efforts. We'll certainly target the operations of organized retail theft rings, and we'll ensure that the prosecutors have the evidence that they need to prosecute. We'll disrupt cross-boundary activities, and additionally, we'll increase the communication among all agencies. Know that the state police will be the center of these initiatives with new investments and the addition of 100 new state police personnel, which I thank you for that, Governor. And we know how to execute the information, the given mandate from the governor, and I'll give you an example of that. Just look at our gun seizures. In 2022, the state police was about 8% of all police and sworn law enforcement personnel within the state. Prior to the pandemic, the state police seized about 8% of the illegal firearms in the state. Under the governor's leadership, by 2023, the state police had seized 15.5% of all statewide firearms. So put another way, under the governor's leadership, gun seizures by the New York State Police increased by more than 165% from prior to the pandemic, 2023. We're certainly committed to executing this new mandate that the governor has assigned to us with the same intensity and direction. There is nothing that we cannot accomplish when law enforcement and other agency partners are working for a common purpose through a clear mandate. Reducing organized retail theft, it is a priority for 2024 and beyond, and we look forward to delivering the results. As the governor mentioned, we have seen significant reductions in violent crime due to incredible partnerships between law enforcement and prosecutors in the community. And I just want to highlight a few more stats for you, particularly outside of New York City. In 2023, outside of New York City, the murder rate, I may have reiterated that, was down. So in conjunction with all of the law enforcement agencies, we launched our organized retail theft operation, and we'll continue to employ that with the recent personnel, with technology, with preventative policing. And preventative policing is important because it's not necessarily reactive. Putting our resources, our talent in place. The state police will be at the center of the initiatives, and we will continue to welcome the support from the governor, and we appreciate your public support in this intention and with all our law enforcement partners. I thank you, and now I'd like to introduce Mr. Michael McMahon. You're welcome.
Thank you, Superintendent James. Congratulations on your full appointment, elevation to the Superintendent of New York State Police, and to our great governor. Thank you so much for having us here. To my colleagues who are here on the dais, good afternoon, and thank you for having me. I am privileged and honored to be the District Attorney of Staten Island, as well as the President of the State District Attorneys Association. And in that role, I speak for myself and my colleagues. Melinda Katz from Queens is here with me. I see Nancy Hoppick is here from Brooklyn on behalf of Eric Gonzalez. I know Darcel Clark from the Bronx has a representative here, as is Alvin Bragg from Manhattan. And I'm sure that the other 56 district attorneys from across the state of New York would gladly be here as well if the distance weren't so far, because this is a very important moment for us all, Governor, in this state. All the district attorneys across the state over the last 18 months, 2 years, have had meetings with folks like Melissa O'Connor and her group, the Statewide Retail Alliance, or the CARS group, the group that represents the smaller merchants, the smaller supermarkets, the bodegas, or their local business councils or economic development corporations, and they've heard the same thing, that they've also heard from the people of their districts. Those people want to be able to go to a store and shop safely. They are tired of going in and saying, I need my Old Spice deodorant and I can't get it because it's locked behind a glass. I need razor blades. I need things for my household. The time, the delay, the frustration, and the feeling of lawlessness that you feel. And then from those representatives you hear on behalf of the merchants, who are working in fear. And as the governor said, we learned through COVID that these people are essential to our quality of lives, to our sustenance, to making a better lives for our families, and they were living in fear just to do their work. And what we heard from all of them was that they wanted to see that we would have the rules and the tools to make sure that we can solve this problem. And that's what the governor, with her leadership in Albany, and those who have led this fight, including State Senator Jessica Scarcella-Spanton, I'm happy to say, is from Staten Island and southern Brooklyn as well, so we take pride in that, as well as the assemblyman who led this charge, first to get the rules changed so that if someone assaults a store worker, a storekeeper, a shopkeeper, we can prosecute them at the felony level. That's very important. And also getting the tools, the money that we need into the office. For me personally, in our office, it means that we can set up a retail crime unit that can focus and bring that laser-like focus that the governor and the superintendent were talking about sort of statewide. That's how we'll do it locally in our office. So if you commit the crime of retail theft again and again and again, we can aggregate it and we can charge you and we can hold you accountable. Now listen, we live in a time that our goal isn't to prosecute people. We want to stop crime. But by having the leverage of that extra charge, when someone does engage in that criminal activity, we can say to them, listen, we've got a chance for you. We've got an alternative, maybe a problem-solving court path. We can give it to you when we have the leverage to offer it. And when they don't take that offer or they don't follow it, then we can hold them accountable by incarcerating them to keep society safe. This package is a great package. It has balance, it has vision, and I believe that, like we heard the numbers when it came to gun crime, for us out in Staten Island and the suburbs, grand larceny autos are also down incredibly. So we thank the men and women of the police department. We see Chief LePetri's here. We thank them for their work for us. We thank the troopers across the state and the sheriff's offices for what they do for the state district attorneys. And I'm happy to say that we're looking forward to partner with the governor's office and her team and everyone here. Our good friend Kathy Wild is here as well from the partnership to come back in a short period of time, 6 months maybe, and report back that the numbers of retail theft have come down and the members of the State District Attorneys Association are willing and thankful partners in this effort, as we were. I meant to mention that a year ago our offices were suffering terribly. We were losing district attorneys through attrition because of the work of the loads of discovery, the workload, and the governor saw that, heard that, got us the funds so that we could pay those district attorneys, assistant district attorneys a little bit more, and that attrition has stopped and we're back working. We will see the same positive result from this package. We are thankful that this movement, sort of this grassroots movement was heard by the governor. She understands it. She's out in the neighborhood. She hears it from the people and from the shopkeepers who are only trying to realize the American dream. She acted, and we are grateful. Thank you so much. And now, I'm sorry. And now it's my great pleasure to introduce Melissa O'Connor, who's the president and CEO of the New York State Retail Council.
Thank you so much, District Attorney. We've worked very closely together in addition to Melinda Katz, so I appreciate your efforts as well. On behalf of thousands of retailers in every corner of New York State, I want to thank Governor Hochul for her efforts and leadership to effectively address organized retail crime and habitual retail theft in local jurisdictions. It's, unprecedented. We've worked with her team, and they've been very generous with their time to address this. Stacy, Liz, Marcos, and others, and they've listened, if not, just addressed at every single point what we're dealing with in the retail industry over the past several months. We appreciate the work that they've done to negotiate the budget provisions we so strongly support, including interagency coordination, related funding for state and local police and district attorneys, legislation that will allow prosecutors to combine the value of stolen goods in certain shoplifting incidents, and importantly, legislation to increase penalties for the assault of retail workers, along with the creation of a commercial security tax credit for small businesses. This comprehensive approach is necessary to address the challenges facing stores and invest in New York communities and the employees who witness retail crimes far too often. It's important to note that the retail theft activity does not stop at the threshold of a local store. We've spoken to this with every district attorney, I think, in the 5 boroughs recently. It's important to not only consider all of these challenges, but focus on meaningful solutions. So over the past several months, our industry has hosted meetings with countless stakeholders in local communities, mayors, district attorneys, state and local lawmakers, local chambers of commerce, business improvement districts, and law enforcement, just to name a few. It's abundantly clear, based on those conversations, that the impact of retail theft and related crimes is real and significant. Therefore, I also want to say right now that our work on store and community safety will not stop upon enactment of this year's state budget. We will continue to engage with all stakeholders, including state and local police, as well as the prosecutors here today, to ensure a safe shopping environment for all New Yorkers. Thank you again to everyone here today for your collaboration and thoughtful approach to this important public safety issue. I appreciate you all. Thank you.
Melinda Katz would like to say a few words? No? District Attorney? Come on.
Sure. I just want to thank the governor for all the work she's done in criminal justice. Sometimes we're out there prosecuting, and we wonder if people notice we're trying to do a good job. And I think that this is an important step today when it comes to retail theft. We all know what it's like. We can talk about our numbers being down, and they are citywide. But at the end of the day, when you're standing in a retail store after you've just buzzed someone to get your toothpaste, and then you're waiting online to pay your bill, and someone else walks in with a backpack, goes and empties the shelves, and then walks out, and you're still waiting to pay your bill, people notice that. And to them, crime's at 100%. So we appreciate the work that went in today. We appreciate the extra resources, but we also appreciate the changes in the law that will allow Mike McMahon, myself, and other DAs to prosecute people and to hold them accountable for this. Thank you, Governor.
Our closer, Kathy Hochul, would you like to say a few words on behalf of the partnership?
Thank you, Governor, and thanks so much to Governor and the legislature for taking this action with the focus on retail theft. I want to say that on behalf of all employers, it's not just the retail industry for whom this is a top issue. All employers, large and small, have a very strong interest in restoring public confidence in the safety of our city. And one of the most visible signs of lawlessness that creates anxiety is what's been going on in terms of the retail theft and the prevention measures that stores are having to take to protect against it. So this is truly important, not just to the retail industry. This is important to all of us, and obviously we are counting on our law enforcement agents, the DAs, the police, to take advantage of this new legislation and to be able to really move so that we see that progress in 6 months, which is, a great goal. So thank you very much.
All right, thank you, everyone.